Our Herbalia basil program is really excited. A few years ago, I noticed a problem with basils. A lot of them were getting diseased, downy mildew especially. And in fact, Southern California had no basil at all Mother's Day weekend. And so I went looking for a solution. We found a breeder in Germany who had taken some wild perennial species of Ocimum basil and crossed it back into commercial varieties, and it created the Herbalia series of basil. The star of the show is Basil Snow White. This one has had a touch of growth regulator applied to it to hold it for the show, but generally it's a really fast crop. It's available from HMA right now, unrooted, and it's very disease resistant. Again, all of these are downy mildew resistant. It has very long flower spikes, up to 18 inches long, that go all summer, and it is bee crazy. The bees absolutely love it. There's about 7 or 8 other varieties available: Green Fortune, Green Ball, Super Green Globe. Lots of different smells and textures, low flowering on the culinary types, but beautiful flowers and beautiful foliage on the more ornamental types. One of the things I like about basil is that it is fragrant and beautiful, and I really like that we can have plants that do both things. I think it's important that our mindset as plant production people doesn't take over and pull all the fun out of the gardening for the consumer.
Now, Josh, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are these all also good for culinary?
Some are better for culinary use than others. Some are just fragrant, but not, the flavor is a little bit off on them, so they'd be something that you'd want to feel of and smell and maybe use as a garnish. Some of the varieties, like the Wild Red, are nice, but it's a more pungent. I don't find the fragrance on some of them offensive. It's just that in cooking they can be a little medicinal, so they're more of an ornamental. They're a fragrant ornamental. Digiplexus, of course, this is a plant that we've become known for. It's really exciting. Flame was the original Digiplexus variety. Here you can see one that was rather heavily growth regulated, a little bit excessive sumagic, but it shows that it can be cooked down into a small pot. I mean, you could even have that in a 4-inch. I don't know that that's the ideal situation. Varieties like Berry Canary, which were new last year, are, I think, very compact, well-branched, very dense. You can see the trunk situation that comes with the Isoplexus canariensis parentage. It's more of a shrub. So it's a bit of a challenge on these. The key is just to grow them cool. None of them need a vernalization. They just need cool cultivation. 50-degree days, 40-degree nights, minimum heat, it's fine. They just need that cool cultivation to stay compact. Otherwise you get this stretching. So I wanted to show that. Raspberry is one that we've never shown before. It's a different color. It's a much looser, softer habit. And so what that means is it's easier to ship. With Illumination Flame, if you break off the main flower spike in transportation, the plant is a loss. On raspberry you have a lot of flowers, and so I think it's more grower friendly. This is a raspberry improved. You can see the existing raspberry, same crop time. So the old variety and the improved variety, much better branching, much stronger stem. Raspberry will be available as an unrooted cutting to the open market next year, I believe through HMA and Oro Farms. So look for that. It will be the improved raspberry, so we're excited to offer that for growers that are interested. Think about a traditional digitalis crop time. Late fall, early winter rooting, growing cool through the winter, and spring flowering. We have some gazanias, Gazania Amber Ice. I just love this variety. I think it's such a great color. Really resonates with consumers. It's a great component plant. The Gazania Sunstoppers, after Eckie was acquired by Dooman, a lot of the genetics coming from the University of Sydney disappeared. We wanted to bring some of what we felt were the best genetics that had good market saturation in the US, but just didn't have anybody producing them. So the Sunstoppers, cream and orange will be available. We've also brought back the City Lights Fuchsias, which were very, very heat tolerant. Really an incredible fuchsia. Very compact, very well branched, and very early, but will go through the south, through the summer in Texas and Georgia, which is pretty extraordinary for a fuchsia.
That is.
Biden's Pop Star is an excellent variety from our friends in Italy. Bred this. The flowers, this is as small as I've ever seen them. It doesn't need growth regulator. It's very dense growing, but it's very healthy. It continues growing. It's not going to be clubby and stunted looking, and the flowers get, you know, a good 50% larger than that. So Biden's Pop Star, this is available right now as unrooted cuttings from HMA. We're trying to bring more things on so that they're available as unroots the year of pack trials, so that growers can sample them and get a feel for them. Lantana Cosmic Firestorm, this is a variegated sport of Dallas Red, one of the most popular varieties of lantana in the South. Just a great variety. I love the foliage look, great as a component plant. Yes, growers say, oh, it looks like you got a thrips problem or a spider mite problem, but consumers seem to really respond to this. The garden writers that have come through and the master gardeners got really excited. They liked the color contrast. Growing it warmer results in a lighter color, more white. The Lantana Chipotles are superb from Garden Genetics. We're excited about these. Very low seed set, very good habits, very well branched from an early age. The Baby Cakes Nemesias. The first series of interspecific Nemesias selected specifically for 4-inch pot cultivation, but they also do beautifully in hanging baskets. So they're the most disease resistant, the most heat tolerant, and the best behaved of any interspecific Nemesia on the market today. And they even work, you can see a little mixture there, accidental or on purpose, doesn't matter because they have the exact same habit. So these are really exciting varieties, I think. Very grower friendly, easy to ship. Angelonia Uptight Pink, great habits. They're crosses between Serena and some of the larger flowered ones. So the idea was to get a series that had large flowers but with the good dense habit of Serenas. Here we have City Lights and Electric Lights Fuchsia, those heat-tolerant fuchsias I referenced earlier. Just excellent early, dense flowering, long flowering, great plants.
And you say they will go through the summer in
They'll take these varieties
Texas?
Were bred in Australia in a very hot area. They'll take Jimmy Turner trialed them in Texas. They went through the summer in Texas and in Georgia at University of Georgia at Athens. Very, very heat tolerant.
That's pretty amazing.
It really is. They're just amazing plants. The Ocean Lobelias, strong heat tolerance, well branched, early to flower, nice colors. This is one of the frequently commented on plants, Carolyn's citrine pelargonium. It's a pelargonium cordifolium. Obviously it's a South African native like most pelargoniums, but it's got fuzzy leaves, and because of the hair they don't get whiteflies on it. And this color stays this bright even in the shade. So a great sort of component plant. It'll be available next spring. We wanted to make sure we had a secure stock source through a geranium company that could make sure they were clean. But then we had to reselect the variegation. So Carolyn's citrine will be available starting this fall. Some new Coleus, Goth Glam, Pink Bombshell, Mascara Mesh, and Green Flash. The great thing about these varieties is they're very slow to flower and they're downy mildew resistant. That's one of the big things we're pushing for. I'm trying to find breeders willing to do more work with plants that are disease resistant. I believe we can accomplish those genetic goals by conventional breeding. We don't need to use GMO technology to do that. We just need to have focused selection work that takes into account the needs of the grower and the requirements for cultivation in greenhouses. I think this is important, and I think it's something worth breeding for, not just more compact.
What are the requirements of these foliage plants? High sun, shade?
That's a good question, Gary. A lot of Coleus don't showcase their colors, especially the sun Coleus, without bright light. So part sun to full sun is where you want to be to really get the best show. In fact, under higher light, this sort of conventional looking purple actually fades to a really cool pink color. Or the pink color maybe flushes up through it. I'm sure there's something sciencey that I could say about that, but can't remember what it is, haven't had enough coffee. But they're great plants, and as a component or a garden or landscape plant, they're very, very durable. Excited about this begonia, Autumn Ember. This is from Logie's greenhouse in Connecticut, hybridized this, and I just love the foliage color. And AG3 in Florida will be offering liners for us. They're doing it in tissue culture, and they do just a great job presenting a really nice little plug that will pop right out and perform beautifully for the grower. This is a 6-inch pot from last year that one of my friends brought back for us to use. He had it in his house in a sunny window for a year, and it's doing this well. So really a lovely plant, again, from AG3. We have some new erysimums, Rhizzy Saffron and Rhizzy Moon Improved. The goal of the erysimum breeding project was to get the large flowers of Chiranthus on the perennial characteristic of erysimum. So these are truly intergeneric hybrids. They are meant to be grown cool over the winter, and they have to be fertilized. They are not like Bowles Mauve, which is a hardy shrub in California and sold by the millions, that doesn't need any fertility. These are high-performance plants that will flower for a very long time, starting in the early spring, February and March, all the way through June and July, depending on the night temperatures are what slows the bloom down. But the varieties are really excellent. They're fragrant, they're frost and freeze tolerant, and they'll just continue going. So for a low-cost production option, in a minimum heat greenhouse, again, keep the fertilizer levels high because they're high-performance plants. They can't run a marathon on a handful of peanuts. Some new sedums. These sedums came from Kienzler, Germany's breeding program. They have an enormous program in the summer sale of perennials that look good in the autumn. And I think this is something that in North America we need to focus a little more on. Seasonality. We can't have the same product in the garden center all the time. It's boring. Who wants to go back and look at the same plants? So we need to cycle more, and we need to be mindful of the seasons and cycles of selling that the average consumer goes through each year. I believe that's a 4 to 6 week cycle from late March through early September. The difference is obviously in the autumn, it has to be an instant gratification. They're not growing things in the autumn, they're decorating with plants. In the spring, anything that has hope of being green over the summer, they'll buy. But in the fall, it has to be instant gratification. So I think we need to think about this as we breed, and we need to structure our programs so that new genetics actually are selected for specific seasons. And sedums are a great example of a product that can be grown during a low production time, low use of your space, so your costs are going to be lower, but offer a beautifully grown sedum in August and September for the consumer that they can enjoy, pop into their garden, or frankly pop into the garbage and come and do it again next year. Sedums are great for that because they don't take water and they can handle being run dry a bit. So that's a lot easier for consumers. The auricula primulas are a bit of an odd duck. You can see the flower colors are really amazing on these. They'll even be larger if they're grown outdoors. The challenge is these are native to the high elevations in the Alps. They have very thick, almost succulent-like leaves. And they have a longer production time, and they can't be grown wet like most alpines, but really an interesting plant. For the last 15 years, I've been working to try and find a solution to what I thought was an incredibly awesome plant, but just had some flaws. Salvia greggii, when it's great, it's amazing, but most of the time it's not. It often is very coarse and upright and brittle, and the branches break. So we have a breeder here in California who has really cracked these plants and has created a series that is just extraordinary. Very well branched, very dense. This is the same variety grown outside and grown inside, and you can see, so this is under California nursery conditions, and then cut back and pulled inside, warmed up, and it pops right into color. They'll flower all summer long. They have very dense growth habits. This is no growth regulators.
That's gorgeous.
And not brittle. And most Salvia greggii, when you ship them, half the plant will be gone before you even get them off the rack at the garden center. So Berkeley Barb and Free Speech are available now from HMA as unrooted cuttings, and I think they'd be a great opportunity for you to get a feel for the genetics. Try those two. HMA has a great free sample program. If you've not ordered from them before, they do a fantastic job. But Berkeley Barb and Free Speech are two varieties that are available now. And then we have Syracuse, Killer Cranberry, Albany, Plush, and Glenadin. Really great varieties that I think are just, I'm really excited about this.
Now, am I looking at Free Speech here any place?
Unfortunately, I think Free Speech didn't make it. It's a more red, it's a more magenta color. But both of those are just, I think, superb varieties. We like to put everything through tissue culture and make sure that it's clean and super elite when we build our stock. And so Berkeley Barb and Free Speech were the first two through the gauntlet of the tissue culture virus and pathogen checks. But these others have now come through. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about one of my favorite plants, Lavender Phenomenal. Lloyd Traven and Candy Traven at Peachtree Farms selected this variety. It's an excellent intermediate. So as an intermediate, it needs a vernalization. It needs a good hard chill to flower. But what I love about it is it really has 4 seasons of beauty. It flowers, obviously, it's been lit to get it in color early, but June through September. You cut it back, fertilize it, and it pops back up nicely. It looks like a silver boxwood. Very dense habit, very uniform, and it goes through the winter, the fall and winter, looking beautiful as a silver ball in the landscape. In the spring, it comes out silver and nice, and then as it flowers and grows, it has very long flower spikes, beautiful, very high oil content, and bone hardy. It's been hardy to zone 4, and Tony Avent at Plant Delights Nursery said it's the only lavender he's seen that will take this summer in North Carolina. Jimmy Turner also found that it did well in Dallas. So it's the unusual Mediterranean plant that can take the heat and humidity of the South. Lavender Phenomenal really is a phenomenal plant. Lavender Platinum Blonde is the only variegated lavender that I've seen that doesn't revert. More than 1 million cuttings and never any reversion on this. It's an angustifolia, so it needs a vernalization to flower. It has a nice mid-blue flower on it, but a great plant. Even we're seeing a lot of people sell it as a bedding plant because the new growth is this bright, vibrant color, and people really like it. Our Buzz series, these are our 2 newest ones, Hot Raspberry and Soft Pink. There aren't very many buddleias you could grow in a 4-inch pot, and this is one of them. So very well branched, smaller flowers, but uniform in size and great in the landscape.